21 people online. Welcome, everybody. My name's Jonathan. I'm going to facilitate today unexpectedly. So I had something just finishing up right now, too. So thank you for your patience. We have an agenda today, and I can post it again in the chat so everyone can see it. But the first thing on the agenda is just going back to regular introductions and fast announcements. So I'll just read through the list. I think it's alphabetical by first name on this participants list, and you can just say hi and anything quick to announce from your group you want to share. So first we have, well, it's a phone number. It's 805-696-8864. You want to introduce yourself, whoever this is? 805-696. Okay. We'll go to the next person. Andy Ruiz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Ruiz. I'm here on behalf of the EBPLA office. Like I said, my name's Andy Ruiz. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I'm entering my 4th year at UCSB as a sociology major, feminist studies, and education minor. I'm really just here filling in for Shannon and Yaz, for those of you who know them in our office. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome. You can always come anyways. Next up is Bianca Orozco from STESA.
Hi, everyone. Bianca Orozco from STESA. Standing Together to End Sexual Assault. We are still operating through non-contact methods. So if folks want to get a hold of an advocate or talk to anyone, they can call the 24-hour confidential hotline that I can put in the comment section as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Deborah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Anderson. I'm the Assistant General Manager at the Isla Vista Community Services District.
And then Derek.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek Marzano. I'm a civilian employee with the Community Outreach Team for the University Police Department.
Devin. You're muted, Devin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Devin Wardlow. I'm the Director of Public Affairs at Coastal. I look forward to discussing with you all. Hope everyone's doing well. Nice to see everyone.
Diana.
Hi, everyone. This is Diana Puente. I am the Director of Community Affairs, Student Development, and Leadership for Associated Students.
Gary.
Hello, everyone. Gary Gaston, UCPD Community Outreach Team.
George.
Hi, everyone. George Thurler from UCSB.
No announcements yet from anybody, but feel free to share. Now's the time. We might not have it at the end. Jay.
Jay Freeman, Isla Vista Community Services District and the Goleta Valley Library Advisory Commission. Not representing either of them today.
Next up is Jeremy.
Jeremy Rourke, psychologist, Food Not Bombs volunteer. We're still going strong, taking food donations when people move out.
Joan.
I'm here, no announcements. I'll just do it as part of the 3rd District report.
That's right. We have that coming up next. Lieutenant Camarena.
Hi, good afternoon. Juan Camarena, commander of the Isla Vista Foot Patrol Station.
Kim.
Hey, everyone. This is Kim Equinoa from UCSB's Dean of Students Office.
Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa from the Isla Vista Food Cooperative Board of Directors.
Hi, I'm the other Lisa Osborne, News Director and Public Affairs Director at KCSB-FM.
And Naomi.
I'm Naomi Kovacs. I am with County Supervisor Joan Hartman's office.
And Omari.
Hello, everyone. Omari Pryor, UCSB's Alcohol and Drug Program.
Spencer.
Hi, everyone. Spencer Brandt, President of the Isla Vista Community Services District.
Tori?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tori Saunders. I am a Community Outreach Officer with UCSB Police Department.
And I'm with her. My name is Officer Bournet with the UCSB Police Department. The only announcements we had today is, for those that don't know, our community outreach team is back up and running. We had taken a 2 or 3 month break because of COVID, and we are opening ourselves up for conversations about any topics surrounding police and recent events. If you guys want someone to talk to, we'd be more than happy to dialogue with you and kind of brainstorm how we can make this better. So we'll put our email address in the chat. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to do a Zoom call, phone call, or meet in person.
Thank you. I think Melissa sent out your all's contact info in the email as well, so everyone should have it there too. And hello to YouTube Live. And then there's someone named Number 14 in here. I'm not sure who that might be. I think that they come on pretty often, but feel free to reveal yourself anytime. Anyways, next up, we're gonna go into the county update. And I don't know what, let's see, we have COVID first, then the cannabis feedback meeting, and then the IV safety improvement survey and meeting. So take it away, 3rd District.
Okay, well, Naomi's on the line and she can chime in too. But first of all, I just wanted to congratulate Viviana. She's been selected for the Service Award by the Santa Barbara County Women's Commission, and that's a real recognition of her service in so many different areas. So it's I'm just really pleased that her work is being acknowledged in that way. And the next thing is COVID. I don't know how many of you follow the governor's statement, but yesterday he said that masks or face coverings are indeed required, and there will be penalties to counties that aren't more vigorous in their enforcement. That is, he would withhold state money for realignment. So that's potentially, a really big hit to social service budgets. So I don't know exactly how he's planning to do that, but I think it's incumbent on all of us to encourage people to wear face coverings. I think in Japan, where they did it, their COVID infection rate was much less. The community transmission is much less. So we have to incorporate that into our thinking. I just, in terms of, I just wanted to mention the November ballot. It turns out that you probably already know this, but there will be an initiative to overturn the 1996 affirmative action ban to once again allow the UCs to include race and sex in consideration for admission. So that'll mean a really intense issue, I think, for all of us concerned about greater equity and justice. There will also be an initiative to allow parolees the right to vote. Again, I think that's really important. The NAACP is pushing that. And again, you already know the split roll tax, the Prop 13 applies to businesses. And so places like Disneyland are still in 1970 era taxes. And I don't think that's what the voters meant. That could be a lot of money for social services and other important needs. So registering to vote and the census, just taking Viviana's themes. So on to COVID a little more. The county is seeing the numbers go up. We are particularly seeing the numbers go up in Santa Maria, and there was a special study looking at the individual cases and trying to figure out ethnically, age-wise, economic, job, where do they live. So it was all mapped. And it is a higher proportion of farm workers and Latinx people. And now they're working with the hospitals to get even more information about this. It seems to be concentrated more in the northern area of Santa Maria. our hospitalizations and ICU have been going up, so this is a concern. The state has various criteria by which it judges all the counties, and if you fall out of compliance with some of these criteria, then you get more intensive consultation with the state public health agency. So we're toggling in and out, but I think we're back in. So as you may know, we did, we were planning to open personal services like nail salons and tattooing and things like that, but that was halted until we see what's happening to our numbers. And that's part of the state requirement. If you're not meeting their numbers, they slow down your reopening into the next phases. So Naomi, was there more to add about COVID?
Sorry, I was having a problem with my mute button. I don't think so. I mean, everybody can obviously access if you just go to the county's website, you can countyofsb.org. Right on our home screen, there's resources on COVID, and then there's COVID updates. So you can get all the most recent stats and everything there. So.
Yeah, and they've developed a new dashboard that makes it much more user friendly, so you can follow it that way.
Joan or Naomi, Gary here with UCPD. I have a quick question for you. I did look at the website and I was trying to determine if there was any truth to some of the rumors I'd been hearing that people were coming up from places like Bakersfield due to the fact that their resources were either overwhelmed or not as good as ours here in Santa Barbara, and they're starting to contribute to some of the numbers in the rise. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I haven't heard that. What I have heard, and we have a call later today to get the most up-to-date information. I believe it's Imperial County needed hospitalizations, and so we did accept some people into our hospitals from there. And while those don't count in our numbers for the state, to fall out of compliance with the state, we're doing it kind of whoever has the ability steps up. That's the nature of all of this. So that's what I know is Imperial County, and but I'll learn today, and I'll get back to the group if there's any other counties that are involved in this program to treat.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
There's 2 questions in the chat by Jeremy and Melissa, if you guys want to just ask it.
I just found a link to my question, so I'll post that really quick.
Great.
And I have heard as of yesterday that there might be something going on in Isla Vista, and there's a bunch of new students newly quarantined. And I'm trying to get real information from anybody, if we have any UCSB people on the line, or if the county has heard. I don't know if the county would have heard about this.
Yeah, I have not heard. We get a daily report. The EOC has transitioned. The fire department was part of the incident command, and that has shifted as emergencies transition to different phases. The way you manage it and the leadership team changes. So the EOC and public health are now managing this in a more ongoing way rather than in crisis mode. And we have regular board meetings by phone where we just get information on Tuesdays, and then we have a legislative call on Thursdays, which involve representatives from local government all the way up to the federal government. So, but I haven't seen anything, and I checked just before this meeting about any recent COVID information. So I don't have it about IV.
Okay.
I will
So far,
say that the public health or the student health people in IV are quite concerned, and we are having discussions about if there are students socially distancing in the dormitories, that is, they aren't packed in triples, but singles and doubles. How many students will be back, and what does that mean for pressure on housing and IV, and how do we keep social distancing in private rental housing? So that's we don't know the answer to that question, but it's something that's being asked and explored.
And I can say I'm looking at the stats as of yesterday. So because public health breaks it down by areas of our community, and Isla Vista yesterday had 1 new case with a total of 9 confirmed cases. 5 of those recovered. So
yeah, this is an anecdotal. I will, if I hear more, I'll also pass this forward. This is based on a phone call I received from a student asking if the co-op does delivery because of possible person coming in, and like a bunch of, like, their whole house is like deeply quarantined right now. It's very new. And so she made it sound like this could be like we might hear more about it. So maybe we haven't yet. Maybe we will.
We'll keep our ear to the ground.
Yeah, great. Thank you, guys.
Turning to cannabis, as you know, Isla Vista and this group, the IV Community Network, had a major impact on the retail program that the county adopted. And so instead of a lottery, there is a process for evaluating proposals. And because of COVID, we're doing that through a virtual town hall meeting July 1st. And it'll be discussing 3 basic things: customer and community education plans, community engagement and local involvement plans, and then the neighborhood compatibility plan, including interior and exterior design, parking, odor control. So those are kind of the 3 broad categories that will be discussed. And Barney Malekian in the CEO's office has been the person organizing this, and you'll be our first one. So I'll be participating and eager to see how it works.
Yeah. And Joan, could you share it with everybody again, what the outcome, like what people should be coming ready to share their thoughts on exactly, examples? And
well, those are those 3 things, an education plan for customer and community. So part of that, I think, at least from my perspective, relates to public health, and that people be aware of not just the benefits, but some of the risks, so that they can make educated decisions. The community engagement and local involvement plan is basically because the licenses are limited, it's a windfall, really, a monopoly to the business. So and this is really your demand to me, that there be a community benefit. And so I think it will be important to articulate what that might look like in Isla Vista. There's a 2-step evaluation process for the retail licenses. And the first, I think, deals more with financial capabilities and the business part of it. And then the second part, if you qualify, then you get judged on these other criteria and community benefit, which they call community engagement and local involvement plan. So how the business is going to engage the community. And then finally, neighborhood compatibility. There's only a small area in Isla Vista that qualifies because retail establishments have to be a certain distance from property lines that have school, elementary and preschools. So that means that only a few blocks in Isla Vista really qualify. So, but it could be that it's more appropriate and compatible in some areas where there's parking than other areas, say. So this would be a time to kind of raise some of those issues.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Hi, this is Devin Wardlow with Coastal. I have a question, Supervisor Hartman. How are you? Thank you so much, and I'm so excited that the county is moving forward with this. One question is, from how this is laid out, this is intended more for the community to really voice their perspectives on these things, correct? Not for the applicants to propose specifically what we're suggesting. Is that right? Because some of these specifics like neighborhood compatibility, are you hoping to hear from the community like, hey, we'd love to see it over here, we'd like this design, or in terms of neighborhood compatibility for this discussion, are you thinking that applicants would provide their thoughts on that?
Because I didn't really get to design this, and I shoehorned my way into even being able to speak and be part of it. But what I envision, but I'm not sure, I mean, staff is driving this, is that it would be an opportunity for the community to articulate their preferences and perhaps for there to be some dialogue with the people such as yourself who are proposing retail operations. Given the format, I don't know how much interaction there will be, but the hearing from the community and giving you and others in your shoes an opportunity to hear from the community is at least what I had hoped. I believe that from Mr. Malekian's perspective, it may be too important for people such as yourself to hear from him and the county how the process will unfold.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Supervisor Hartman. I really appreciate it, and I definitely look forward to the discussion. So I hope folks will be able to join, and I'm happy to do anything that I can to encourage folks to participate, as I do see this as their opportunity to really let operators know what they hope to see, and I look forward to the discussion.
Me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it was at Ivcn maybe about a year ago where we pushed to have this. And thank you, Joan, for making it happen.
Well, thank you. I mean, it takes the entire community, and all of us together is smarter than any one of us. And so I hope that is what happens in this virtual, our first virtual cannabis retail meeting.
Cool.
You'll set a high bar for the rest.
Cool. Well, thank you. And then I think the last thing is the safety improvement survey in the meeting. But I think we had this last week, right? So it's just a reminder to fill out the survey for everybody.
Yeah, it's a reminder, but also I just I'm just about to, in the chat, I'm posting the direct link website. So there is a virtual town hall meeting coming up, and we just want to again remind and encourage people to attend that. You can RSVP. There's an RSVP link at the link I just posted. And I just spoke with Brittany, who couldn't join us today for the call, but she said the survey, they're still encouraging people, would like people to fill out the survey. That's also at that same link I just posted. They will be posting the survey in Spanish as soon as they have it finished being translated. So that's coming soon. She didn't know by when, but sort of as soon as they hopefully can have it, it will be posted up in Spanish as well.
And as I say on all these calls, end of report.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I can add one other thing. That Brittany said that so they had gotten a few applications, sort of a handful of applications, until they connected with IVCSD and I guess paid for an ad through IVCSD's Facebook page, and the number of applications overnight shot up. So I think she was talking about applications. She might have been talking about the survey.
Yeah, survey. It's a survey.
Yeah, so they had a handful of surveys responses before, and it went up dramatically overnight. So thank you for helping get the word out, IVCSD.
No problem. Okay, so I think that's the county update. Went a little bit over our 15 minutes, but you know, the COVID issue seems to be coming back up more, so we needed more time. Next up is community conversations on the things from the past meetings. So the different points here are the Neighborhood Watch program that was shared last time, the IVCSD Police Brutality and Anti-Racism Work Group progress, and follow up, and then move out, and maybe anything else that might be going on right now. Is there anything quick for maybe we can get move out of the way since that's almost over? Anybody have a quick thing to mention on move out? I don't know if anyone from EcoVista, oh, Ash is on the line. Ash, do you want to give an update on all's efforts?
Yeah, everything's the same. You can post on Instagram until like the 30th if you want to be in the prize, but you probably already heard about that. We're encouraging people to pick up trash, including over by Devereaux. It's pretty much it, yeah.
Thank you. And we had Isla Vista Beautiful out trying to help with the gutters where it got very dirty, and Marburg doesn't pick up from there. But things look pretty okay out in Ivy. I took a walk last night. Does anybody have the same feeling, like didn't end up being too horrendous this year?
Yeah. I just had a question on, I know there had been some concern in the Ivy encampment working group meeting about the possibility of the encampment sort of accumulating more stuff. Have we seen that happening?
I haven't seen that myself, but
okay.
Yeah, I saw a lot of dumping in the parks, like on DP, but that it got picked up eventually.
I think it's an ongoing conversation that's happening between park districts. Like there's like a working group, I think, also like houseless working group.
Yeah,
and they're talking a lot about, yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, it's like ongoing. But there's a board meeting tonight, and they've been talking about it loosely, I think, also in the park district meetings.
Oh, well.
Hey everyone, just a reminder, if you do see large trash items or any other improvements that need to be picked up or cleaned up, you can submit requests to our Ivy Beautiful team by clicking the link that I'm going to put in the chat right now.
Thank you, Spencer. This is Deborah. I just wanted to comment that the Ivy move out calendar for Marburg ends tomorrow. So that means that their everyday pickup of large items such as those mattresses or bookshelves, things of that nature, that's going to stop after tomorrow, and it'll go back to their weekly Wednesday pickup where they do once a week bulk items or large item pickups. So hopefully everybody's going to get their big stuff out there by tomorrow. I'll also just add that the litter that you see on the ground, if Marburg shows up and the trash bins have trash in them, they're going to dump the trash bins, but they're not going to go along the curb and pick up anything that fell out of the trash bin or that scavengers threw out of the trash bin. That's considered litter. And I want to thank EcoVista, the group that volunteered to do some of the pickup. Definitely got to give a shout out to Ivy Beautiful because they've been the backup for going through the community continuously and picking up those items that are considered a litter, things that have fallen out of not only trash bins but dumpsters. Couldn't think of the name, dumpsters. So yeah, just want to give you guys a update on the move out and what we see in regards to the litter associated with that.
Thank you, Deborah. Any last points on move out?
I'd like to say regarding potential accumulation within the houseless community that we do, I think, have to be careful to consider the houseless community. This is their only place of residence, and they do have a need, and there are many in the community, I think, that believe they have a right to possessions, and so the conversation can't be necessarily cut and dry of they have possessions or they don't, they're not allowed to have possessions. It's a difficult conversation, but so if and when there is accumulation, I think we have to be careful in how we respect their rights and balance the rights with other community members with their rights.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, so we can move on. Did people, I think we have Lieutenant Cameron, I think, to talk about the Neighborhood Watch program more. Did people have a preference of talking more about that first, or what the IVCSD is working on? Okay, no preference. That on the agenda, the Neighborhood Watch is first. So people did seem to have a lot to want to say about this last week. So we can have some more time to ask questions and share our concerns and thoughts and ideas about it.
Hey, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Like I mentioned to you guys last week, Justin, he's not going to be back till next week, and we're going to start looking into the neighborhood program that we were working on. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and anybody who's interested in being part of it and working with us so we could have a community neighborhood watch that is unique to Isla Vista, they could send me an email and we could start planning different virtual meetings to see what the Isla Vista neighborhood watch is going to look like.
Sounds good. Well, does anybody have anything they want to share right now? Or if not, we can move on to the other points on this item.
I just wanted to thank Lieutenant Camarena. He gave me a follow-up call after our meeting last week, and we had a really great discussion about the potential of the uniqueness that this opportunity might afford Isla Vista, including how we might really be able to jump planning off with engaging the community at the get-go. I pinged Diana, who I don't think was on today's call, but she let me know that there's a group with the EVPLA office and Associated Students is also starting to talk a lot more about community policing. And so obviously a lot of our work is starting to dovetail together, and it feels incredibly valuable that we have a captive audience of our lieutenant and our sheriff and UCPD that come onto these calls that are willing to, engage with community right at the get-go and willing to be, listening to how this might roll forward in a way that authentically puts forth these things that we've talked about for years in Isla Vista that we've been starting to tap into, after the shootings, really. And so it feels really exciting and important. And Diana was really excited also about, merging work together in a sense, and that she would be happy to also be a person to work with the sheriff's office to help bridge into some of the stuff that EVPLA is talking about, so that there can be synergy between some of these conversations and then actually leading to the outcomes I think that we all are interested in together. So thanks for calling, Lieutenant, and it'll be fun, I think, to start working together on this.
Also, thank you, Melissa. Also, another thing, just for the community network group, if you guys have a question or concern, feel free to get a hold of me. I'm always available. As I mentioned before, I have an open door. Anything that I could do to help out or explain, or anything that we could do to build that relationship between the sheriff's office here, the Foot Patrol, UCPD, and the community of Isla Vista, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we can move on to the next thing, which is what the IVCSD working group is doing. I put the link to the last update from our meeting on Tuesday on there. And so this is a group that Spencer and Jay and Ethan, who's not here, but also Deborah and I we met once and we talked, and we talked last week at this meeting, but just want to see if we had like a couple points that we were discussing in there that people can check out. And they're I think maybe two most interesting ones to discuss are unarmed response to nonviolent calls for service and sobering center. And then there's also a resolution that Jay had originally proposed amendments to a past resolution, but we said we'd make it into its own thing, and that'll be at the July 14th meeting, and we're still working out details on that. But this is in here, and so maybe want to turn it over to Jay and Spencer to share their thoughts of where this is going in our board meeting discussion on Tuesday. And we have 3 weeks, I guess, between now or and the next board meeting to figure things out a little more and have more discussions with the community. So turn it over to you both to share your thoughts on where this is going and what you're thinking.
Great, thanks, Jonathan. And thanks for sending the report in the chat. Anyone is free to look at that because it's got some details in here of what we've been talking about. I think there's a really important conversation going on right now across the state and the country in the aftermath of some of these high-profile killings of Black people. That there's the question being asked: do we need law enforcement officers or traditional sworn law enforcement officers with the badge and the gun to respond to some of these nonviolent calls for service that come in? And I think that's a really important question to be asking and to really be like anchoring a lot of our thinking, because we've seen that across the country, jurisdictions or cities that have tried to put in programs in place to try and get people more in line with like social workers, mental health clinicians to respond to some of these calls for service, even without any law enforcement accompaniment whatsoever, have seen a whole lot of success. Specifically in the report, we linked to a program that has been employed in Oregon called Cahoots, where they employ these mental health clinicians to go out into the field, and they were able to actually reduce the number of incidents that police, like traditional police, had to respond to by over 20%, which is a pretty big deal and really represents a change in thinking of what types of calls law enforcement responds to. But at the same time, I think specifically in Isla Vista, we have a really unique demographics here and a really unique community to try and experiment with other models of conflict resolution and restorative justice oriented, problem solving in a way that may not involve law enforcement. Things like the Guardian program, which many of you may be familiar with, they're a group that works private security for a number of different events, but most specifically with the Lucidity Festival. And they've also worked with the Isla Vista Food Co-op, which I'm sure Melissa could talk about their experience with the Guardians. But really their goal is to try and resolve conflicts in a way that is really centered around harm reduction. And instead of trying to punish a person for their actions, to try and solve the problem in a way that is really centered around de-escalation. And especially given the fact that on Friday and Saturday nights, a lot of our calls for service that law enforcement responds to are, these calls where people have been drinking or they're under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I think that we have a real opportunity to try and use some of these de-escalatory tactics to try and improve relationships between law enforcement and the community, and to maybe find what law enforcement's role in that situation is. We've we've heard that studies have shown a lot of the underlying reasons why there is tension, racial tension between Black and brown communities and law enforcement is the over enforcement of minor crimes. And I think that in Isla Vista, to a certain extent, in the past, we've seen that happen. It seems to me like ever since I've gotten here, the situation has slowly begun to improve, and I trust that our local partners in law enforcement are, I think, making a good faith effort to try and reckon with the way that the world is changing. But we need to do more. And so that's definitely something that we're really discussing and considering in a big way. And then aside from that, the Sobering Center is something where, really would be a big thing for our community in terms of diverting people away from the punishment-oriented nature of the justice system and towards more of a restorative justice model, where maybe people who are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, that are just, say, receiving a minor in possession charge or a drunk in public charge, maybe they don't need to be brought to the jail. When I go out on Friday and Saturday nights, well, not as much anymore because of COVID, but when there was, real regular life back in the old days happening in Isla Vista, we would see the big white sheriff's vans parked on the side of the road, and we knew those vans were where people who were arrested for these minor crimes would be put, and then they'd be driven away to the jail in Santa Barbara. And I think it's just, we need to have a conversation about if that's really having an effect on people's behavior in a positive way. I think the Sobering Center is something that could really be a model for trying to divert people away from the justice system. So those are the two biggest things I'm most excited about, and I really want to hear everyone's feedback, and also as well give Jay an opportunity to say, add anything to our discussions, and encourage you all to be in touch with us as we move forward.
I always think Spencer's summaries of what the board is doing are excellent and very comprehensive and very fair on pretty much every level. So I don't particularly feel the need to inject anything. One thing for people who do end up reading the report, the item on the draft, and I want to make certain people understand that is which is, to the extent to which you cared in the first place, but maybe people did. It's not the output of the committee. We ended up agendizing it in a way where it was the input to the committee. And so I know that the people on the working group, including Spencer, have edits that they had already done to the document before that meeting that they would like to see. But what you end up seeing in that document is more of what, and sometimes the more forceful wording that I had put in originally. And so I just want to make certain that there's not this perception that that document is what the output of the committee was.
Just to speak further about what Spencer mentioned, the Guardians were built from a program called the Rangers. You guys probably have heard me talk about the Rangers before. That's a really long-standing program at the Burning Man Festival that now has gone well beyond, the confines of Burning Man proper. It's rooted in conflict mediation, de-escalation, but the tenet is called community care. And I think that that's a really important thing. And you can read it on the Guardian's website. The idea is that you're coming into a community based around the concept of caring for the community. And that allows for a different ethic sometimes when you're working of thine for the people, but with the goal being de-escalation and harm reduction as the end point of the encounter, and not that it should punt somebody over into a higher level of more escalation and law enforcement. And so at Burning Man, the Rangers work in concert with law enforcement, but the idea is that you call a ranger first. And so when we had Lieutenant Plastino here as a part of our foot patrol, that was 4 or 5 years ago, he learned about rangering and then ended up doing a command college like work project around this, and actually took this idea a little bit into North County. And it's led to really great things at Lucidity Festival every year. It's like an ongoing engagement with local law enforcement to ensure that the law enforcement is trained along with the guardians when they're on site at Lucidity Festival. And so when it was going to happen out here in IV at Deltopia, it was the most exciting thing, because that's taking it really out of the confines of festival world. You know, as people would think, oh, maybe this isn't possible to do outside of festivals. It's possible, and it's happening, and we were about to launch into it in Isla Vista. And so I think where Spencer's talking about stuff and what the CSD is aiming for, and then this really cool synchronistic timing of Neighborhood Watch being considered, it's like we already sort of have some of the solutions with the right captive folks to come in to support us. The Guardians came into IV right after the shootings. If you were here then, there was a beautiful healing event with I Am Healing. That's the same folks. So the I Am Healing people built the Guardian program. And so you have a group of people that built something rooted in the idea of community healing. And so that feels like we're even like steps ahead of other communities in this way, because we've been through tragedy and trauma here very literally with the shooting, and we've started to put things into place as a community to create resilience, including be able to hear each other and talk to each other and see each other. And the Guardians are one element that came through that. So I just want to plug that as work that's happened. And it took the co-op about a year of work to get the Guardians to even be able to be at a retail space. It was very difficult because you're not a security guard. You're literally holding space and creating a safe container. What does that look like at a retail store? So anyway, I think there's great work that's to come with this. And I'm grateful to know that it's still being talked about as a program that could be viable for IV, because we believe a lot in it also.
I would just like to say, if you all look very well researched in this, just to please, if you feel inclined to do so, include us for logistics so that we can work together on this. I am ideologically 100% in agreement with this. It's such a win-win situation that maybe we can support one another to the same end. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We haven't done much. We've met once and are gonna now make plans to meet with a bunch of different folks in the community. So thank you.
Jonathan, do you have any more thoughts that you could share about what that might look like so far? I mean, I know you might just still be in discussion, but just how you're maybe envisioning that engagement going forward?
I think our work group still needs to figure that out. Like, we met one time before this call last week to kind of talk about the different ideas that are in the report, and just prepare also for this call when we were going to have a bigger discussion last week on it. So we still have a lot to do.
Very good. Thank you.
And this is Joan. Could I add a little bit? Okay, I'll take over the mic. I received an email from Carmen Lodice, who is suggesting that we might want to consider looking at the 50-year history of the Foot Patrol. I think that would be a really interesting academic idea. From my perspective, I'm really interested in when I came in office and when Lieutenant Camarina came, because we came with the idea of developing more what I term internal self-regulation, so that it's not, the police force, but rather engaging the community to care for itself and care for each other. And he very much embraces that philosophy. And I'm so grateful to him for developing ideas that have been talked about for a long time, but he's actually begun with a checklist and checking them off. The board will have a meeting in mid-July that looks at the $500,000 that we set aside in the budget of the CEO and how we want to spend that money. And I'm sure that people in this group will want to engage and participate. One thing that is important that I've asked the CEO to prepare is a white paper that describes what we've already done in the county. We now have a lot of attention and a lot of focus and a huge opportunity to make changes. And many of these have begun sometime before. And, you know, the jail has been the default option, and the police and the sheriff's deputies get called. But that's because we haven't had places like the sobering center. We haven't had places to take people who are suffering a mental breakdown. So we've put at least we've got a lot of programs that are in the works and have been piloted and are being developed. We have special courts that are focused on diversion. So those are all things that we believe it's important to get described, written up, so that we're all starting from a shared understanding of what we've got. So then we know better what it is we need to do next. And Lieutenant Camarina is working on something that's IV specific, that again would be a platform, a foundation to inform our discussion, so that we aren't calling for things that already exist, but maybe to change them and adapt them, or develop new things. So so I just wanted to set that out there. I think this is, we've been making steps in this direction, and we have a real opportunity. And I think in Isla Vista in particular, people are, we've got such a reservoir of talent and energy, and we really can be a model here for community caring for the rest of the county. It has to be adapted different ways to different communities, but I think it's a tremendous opportunity.
Thank you, Joan. And I was gonna post Carmen's message to you, because he, I think, said it in our public comment at our board meeting on Tuesday, and that was like he videoed in from Mexico to make his comments. So I think it was an interesting idea too. So I'll put it in here, the chat.
I also popped up the Guardian team's website, but then I just copy pasted the mission statement, which I thought was nice. You know, I like to read what they're about, because I think it's not so idealistic, because they're already doing it in places. It's a bigger conversation to see if it can be impactful for a whole community. But you know, it's inspiring.
Does anybody else have anything to say on this point? Okay, well, you can get an
Jonathan, I had a question for Melissa. I think the Guardian idea is a really, really interesting one. I remember being trained some time back for the Ivcn, and our Guardians, could you train people internally, or do they, is it such a involved training that you have to hire people from external to do it?
It can be internal. It's a great question, actually. So they do different levels of work. They have, some of them have guard cards. So right now they're all working at all the Apple stores across Central Coast, because the Apple stores open and are having a social distance problem. So they've been hired to actually do thoughtful engagement for customers for social distance. And so a lot of those will have guard cards. However, they train. That's the beauty of the Guardians, is you can train without a guard card and be learning, but not be put into a position where you'd be required to have a guard card. And so it's a great opportunity for youth to learn, and that's part of how they get the program rolling. Is they'll go to Lucidity and they have volunteer positions, and you train as a Guardian up at the event, and you have training shifts, and then you do harm reduction at the event, and they'll put you on different shifts depending on how much training you've had. So it can thread into things like how UCIV was running. Like, there's a lot of weaving together with how they're structuring it, with the goal that you could go high enough to get your guard card if you wanted to go on that level.
Yeah. And if everyone remembers, we were thinking of we were going to use the Guardians during our community festival in April. It would have been their first like large scale test in the field. So hopefully we'll get to do that again.
Maybe we can hire them to get people to wear their face coverings.
Yeah.
I can text Metatron and ask him.
Well, I think that was a good meeting, everybody, and I don't know if we've decided to do the 2 weeks and if next week is the first week off or not. Melissa, please remind me. I don't know what to tell people.
We didn't get to that level because last week's meeting went a little long and it felt hard to push them to every 2 weeks, but it's up to the group. Like, we can definitely do this bi-weekly if it feels like we are not, like if 1 week is too fast. So I don't know if it makes sense to keep tapping in with all the stuff that's happening. Any ideas?
I would just say I think that's a really good point, Melissa. It's hard to figure out what the right balance is right now because things are just continuing to move so quickly. It does feel to me like, just even as someone said earlier, just in terms of the COVID discussion, there's so much that's happening again, and that's moving quickly. And then of course, these other conversations that we've been having. So I think I might have suggested at one point going to every 2 weeks, but I wouldn't be against continuing to meet weekly.
Does it feel to the group like how we're structuring the agenda? Because it's easier to, for at least selfishly as a facilitator, if we just keep the agenda sort of loose-ish like this, and we're able to just keep kind of, I put the community conversations in to sort of capture continuity and what we're talking about each week. Does it feel like a good style of agenda to keep moving weekly? Maybe your silence is your excitement of a yes.
Hi, Melissa. This is Devin. I mean, I definitely like the weekly meetings. I really appreciate you guys doing this, so that would be my vote.
I like it.
And this is Joan. I would just add that I can't make them all, but Naomi or somebody from the 3rd District would be here.
I know it's hard for those of you who are hosting it to be here and hold the space every week. So it's nice to have it here, and it keeps us on track because we know it's happening. But it's up to you.
Well, I'm happy to keep as long as everybody else feels down. Like, I don't mind doing this weekly, and as long as the agenda can stay kind of loose-ish and we just sort of keep this format, it's just easier to plan. And if Jonathan's able to keep letting us use the Zoom as the host, I'm happy to send out reminders. So
My Thursdays 12 to 1 are booked for the rest of the year. So anything's fine with me.
Great. Let's keep it weekly for now until it feels like there's less things, and we can just engage about kind of the same topics next week. And if you have something between the week that pops up that you want to make sure we talk about, just email the Isla Vista Community Network Gmail, or my GM at ilavistafood.coop. And this is a network. So if you have different ideas or thoughts and you don't feel comfortable speaking up in the group, just email. We can have a call. It's just us doing it. So we're here for each other. Cool.
Thank
I think
you.
Jonathan has to jump off right at 1. So maybe we can call it as a great meeting. And thank you everybody for calling in and participating.
Thanks, Melissa.
Stuff. Thank you guys. See you soon. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye. 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 Ending for all. Goodbye.